Good morning, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Jose Munoz, Executive Director of La Casa Norte. At La Casa Norte, our mission is to serve youth and families confronting homelessness. We not only provide housing, we also provide access to healthy food, clothing, healthcare, education, emotional support, and most importantly, we provide hope. During the COVID-19 pandemic, like many of our partners, the capacity of our organization was pushed to its limits. As schools closed, businesses shuttered their doors, jobs were lost, and families lost their loved ones, our staff, volunteers, and partners worked together to address a housing and basic needs crisis that had existed long before the COVID-19 pandemic, but was suddenly pushed to new heights. At La Casa Norte, we made a commitment to keep our doors open. At La Casa Norte, we decided that we were going to do whatever it took to make sure that our youth and families were housed, fed, and had access to health care. Since the start of the pandemic, we have grown from serving 5,000 individuals in a year to over 20,000 individuals in the communities hardest hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. We not only managed to keep our emergency shelter programs and permanent supportive housing programs running, we also expanded our rapid rehousing teams, our food access and rental assistance programs, and we even built a new public health ambassador program to support COVID-19 testing and help individuals get vaccinated. I'm happy to report that this youth-led initiative has already helped nearly 5,000 individuals get fully vaccinated, and that our rental assistant team, led by Luz Cortez, who's actually here in the audience, helped process over 1,000 rental assistance applications. But we couldn't have met this elevated need without our partners, the support of the Illinois Department of Public Health, the Illinois Housing Development Authority, and all the other supporters and government partners, including Governor Pritzker and his administration, and of course, our dear friend, Deputy Governor Sil Flores. In just a little bit, you'll hear from Monique, a young woman who we have had the opportunity to serve through our mission. I'm so excited for her to share her story and give you a glimpse of one of the 20,000 lives that we were able to touch this past year. But for now, it's my honor to introduce the man who is leading our state through one of the toughest times in our history. A man who not only had the courage to follow the advice of the scientific community during this pandemic, but has also led with his heart to keep our communities as safe as possible. Please join me in welcoming Governor Jb Pritzker.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Jose, and good morning to everybody. Jose, I want to thank you and your team for leading us through such difficult times and for all that you do to support residents in need and what you do to help people really thrive in their lives. There's a reason that I'm announcing a comprehensive and integrated statewide approach to fighting homelessness here at La Casa Norte. And it's because our state's mission to prevent homelessness and strengthen our supports for those in need. Organizations like this are the first to be standing up for people and standing up for someone who has a housing crisis. And they're the first to help them find their way out. For years, you and your staff here at La Casa Norte have been doing the hardest work and have been doing it amazingly well. And then the pandemic hit. And still, you come to work. You come to work in person, managing your own health, your family's health also, so that you can ensure that there's a safe place to be for others' families, like Monique's, who you'll hear from in just a moment. I'm so thankful for your service and for your partnership, everyone that's here today and all who serve our homeless population. I want to ask everyone here, though, to give a round of applause to the folks who work here at La Casa Norte, who volunteer here at La Casa Norte, and who are contributors to La Casa Norte. I want to welcome our Illinois Department of Human Services Secretary Grace Ho, as well as our allies and friends in the General Assembly, Leader Delia Ramirez, Representative Lindsay LaPointe, and Leader Omar Aquino. Let me also recognize the terrific advocates, Carolyn Ross with All Chicago, Jennifer Hill with Alliance to End Homelessness in Suburban Cook County, David Esposito with the Supportive Housing Partners Association, Lori Baker with the Association for Individual Development, Emily Krishnas with Chicago Funders Together to End Homelessness, Bob Palmer with Housing Action Illinois, and Doug Schenkelberg with Chicago Coalition for the Homeless. You know, I came into the governor's office about 30 months ago with a promise to rebuild and revitalize Illinois' social services sector, which had been decimated after the budget crisis of my predecessor. In partnership with the General Assembly, my administration has delivered historic funding to our health and human services agencies, including the highest ever investment in the Illinois Department of Human Services and its network of community-based providers. These increased supports and Secretary Ho's indomitable leadership have helped DHS approach the intense hardships of COVID-19 with innovative and unprecedented solutions, including funding safe lodging options during the pandemic like hotels and motels in the spring of 2020, and delivering temporary and emergency housing and utility assistance to immigrants and to refugees experiencing COVID-19 related financial hardships. And when federal relief dollars came to Illinois, we turned around and delivered them as quickly as possible, including expanding our food bank capacity to feed hungry families in the hardest hit areas, helping meet the increased demand for mental health crisis services in minority communities, providing one-time $500 payments supplements to all TANF recipients to help ensure food security for 23,000 families living in poverty, and making housing relief a cornerstone of our pandemic response. In 2020, we invested $329 million to keep 56,000 at-risk families housed during the pandemic, and our 2021 relief package totals $1.5 billion. Today, in another step to protect our most vulnerable residents, I'm announcing an interagency task force on homelessness, codifying the collaboration that has become second nature to our health and human service agencies in the face of the pandemic, an all the more essential mission with the eviction moratorium set to end. In doing so, I'm directing my state agencies to come together with leaders in the sector, such as La Casa Norte, to strengthen safety nets, support local solutions, and provide effective help for those dealing with the housing crisis to get them back on their feet. Already, IDHS is leading and organizing a statewide no-cost legal services and court-based eviction prevention program in partnership with a network of more than 40 community-based organizations. This task force will help build on that prior work. That means not only addressing housing affordability and stability, but tackling the root causes that can disrupt it. Substance abuse disorders, mental health struggles, education access, employment opportunities, veterans services, domestic violence, and so much more that shapes the lives of the most vulnerable among us. And to help lead this charge, I'm also establishing the role of state homelessness chief to steer our efforts to decrease homelessness and institutionalization in Illinois, improve future outcomes for people who experience homelessness, and strengthen housing stability for all of our residents. That includes continuing our work to keep people safe in their homes in the first place. Not only is rental relief still available with additional funds that will be coming in the fall, but we also have utility assistance available to keep the heat flowing and the lights on, building on the $343 million that reached over 289,000 families in 2020. The executive order that I'm announcing today is about homelessness. It confronts housing instability head-on with the most coordinated and focused effort that our state government has ever organized. We estimate that over 10,000 of our neighbors across Illinois are experiencing homelessness right this moment. But I want to be clear that homelessness is a circumstance. It is not an identity. And it has real impact on real people. Homelessness has many faces. It's urban and it's rural. People everywhere can experience instability, from Peoria to Rockford, from Aurora to Carbondale to Cairo, to right here on the west side of Chicago. It can be a transgender teen banished from a house that refuses them. It can be a single mother of 3 escaping one bad option for another. It can be a person with disabilities, an actual working but underemployed adult, a veteran, a senior, and it will be always a person deserving of dignity, a person deserving of opportunity, of a second chance, of a foundation upon which to build a successful future for themselves and for their families. And together, step by step, we will work to give it to them, so that Illinois is a place all our residents can truly call home and be proud of. So thank you, and with that, I'd like to introduce a true champion for this effort, and that's our IDHS Secretary, Grace Ho. Grace?
Good morning. Thank you, Governor, for your bold, brave, and compassionate leadership. You have enabled us to protect, assist, and support individuals and families facing desperate circumstances throughout every phase of the pandemic. And in so many ways, we have done the impossible together already for the people of Illinois, and together we will tackle one of society's most persistent grand challenges: people, families experiencing homelessness. The Department of Human Services is honored to anchor the work outlined in the executive order and will pursue the fight to combat homelessness with tenacity and focus. And despite all that we have already done, we know that homelessness continues to be a pervasive challenge for our state with multiple drivers. The persistence of homelessness has been exacerbated by the current crisis, and our administration, as outlined by the governor, across multiple state agencies, swiftly responded with a comprehensive set of supports to meet people where they are. Taking what we've done and building upon the cross-agency work that occurred during the pandemic, and working with our network of community providers, organizations like La Casa Norte, and reaching across the state with our continuums of care and wrestling through solutions alongside our advocates and people with lived experiences to make policies and programs effective and equitable, we can ensure that every person in Illinois has a place to call home. I want to thank our allies and partners in the General Assembly for their leadership, and of course the workers who are in all of the community-based organizations across the state. I want to give a special thank you to Carolyn Ross and All Chicago and their team for being in the weeds with us and not just pointing out the challenges, but working alongside us and toiling to develop those solutions. Thank you all for helping us innovate and create new solutions. We look forward to our continued collaboration to find systemic solutions that attack the root causes of homelessness through the power of this executive order. It is now my great pleasure to introduce Monique Harvey, a member of the La Casa Norte Youth and College Program. Thank you so much.
Good morning. Last night I tried to write a speech. It didn't work out. It turned into a speech, then a poem, then a list. So I decided to just go for it. But I believe La Casa Norte can do so much more than what they've done. I'm not saying they haven't done enough, but there are so many more youth that I see at my schools, on the street, who just need support. And that's what La Casa Norte has provided for me. I went from having no heat to finding an apartment that offered free heat. I went from sleeping in the backseat of my car to having my own bed sheets. Those transitions, no one wants to go through. I didn't want to go through it, but it happened. And I came across La Casa Norte, and they gave me my own space, my own stability, my own foundation, my own family. They say blood isn't thicker than water, but I think that this water that I found is much thicker. I can't explain how easy it was for me to find me through La Casa Norte. They have provided food, housing, if you need furniture, if you need anything. What do you need and how can I give it to you is how I see La Casa Norte. If I ran into a student before I graduated from Kennedy King with my associates, and I said, how about you try La Casa Norte? You're in college, you meet the requirements, and they got in. So that power within itself speaks volumes. Like I said, I couldn't write a speech because there was nothing that I could put on paper that could express how I feel about La Casa Norte. They are phenomenal. You know, everybody needs support, everybody needs stability, everybody needs foundation. And that's what La Casa Norte has provided for me. Thank you. Almost forgot, I have to introduce the next speaker. Without further ado, Ms. Carolyn Ross.
Thank you, Monique. Good morning, everybody. That is the reason why we all do what we do. We just need that fuel to help keep us all going. Thank you, Governor Pritzker, for inviting us all here today for this great occasion. This executive order is an important step forward to address the needs of individuals and families facing homelessness more effectively here in Illinois. We are thankful for your leadership and for your administration's strong support of this work. Your recognition of every Illinoisan's right and need for a safe, stable home is important and will help us all move forward. I am President and CEO of All Chicago Making Homeless History. We are just one link in this chain. Our mission is to unite our community and resources to provide solutions that ensure and sustain the stability of a home. Our key partnerships are rooted in the Chicago Continuum of Care, which involves more than 100 organizations and individuals who work together to prevent and end homelessness in Chicago. Additionally, there are 18 other Continuum of Cares throughout Illinois that we connect with to share ideas, best practices, and to solve problems. These are local and regional planning bodies established to coordinate housing and service funding for our neighbors at risk of experiencing homelessness. Through this pandemic, we have all been challenged to maintain our health in a stable, safe environment. We know the commitment and the connection of housing to health is an important balance that is necessary to save lives. The formation of this statewide interagency council to fight homelessness will strengthen our collaborative work by connecting communities, resources, and building impactful partnerships in Illinois. We must all rethink and reorganize our processes to develop long-term solutions to help individuals and families achieve self-sufficiency. It is critical to help our neighbors find and be able to gain stability in their own lives. We must work together to build our systems so that we are stronger and adaptable to respond to our community's needs for safe, affordable housing. The establishment of this new interagency council to fight homelessness will build a stronger system in Illinois. It will champion innovation to develop solutions that are responsive to the needs of Illinois residents. Most importantly, it will unite all of our efforts because none of us can do this work on our own without having a true impact. Thank you very much. It's now my honor to introduce Representative Ramirez.
Good morning, buenos dias, and welcome to Humboldt Park, the place that's been home to me just a block away since the age of 7. And I'm about 20, so it's just been a couple of years. Don't laugh that hard. I know you see the gray. I want to first say thank you to our governor again. Last March, I remember, was March 22nd, and I was quarantining in my home after feeling and experiencing symptoms. As you recall, we were told to stay home unless you felt like you needed to go to the hospital, but quarantine, take care of yourself, drink lots of liquids. And I remember sitting there, emotional, of course feeling sick, but asking myself, what's going to happen to the people that are currently experiencing homelessness? What's going to happen to the staff that every single day before this pandemic have given their lives to serve others? What will we do when essential workers get sick and they live in multi-generational homes, and before we know it, their entire family is sick? And Secretary Ho knew that I was feeling that, and so did Deputy Governor So Flores, because I got to calling. What are we going to do to help the most vulnerable in our state? Folks, the reason our numbers in terms of people confronting homelessness are what they are today and not 100,000 in the state of Illinois is because of the bold, unapologetic, compassionate leadership of that man right there. It is because of the leadership of Deputy Governor So Flores, who has spent her life doing this work. We've met 20 years ago in this. And it is because of every single person who got to work. Some executive directors of shelters did not go home for weeks because of staffing issues, because of trying to figure out how to keep our community safe in one of the worst moments of our lives. This interagency task force on homelessness is critical as we look at our recovery for the years to come. Our ability to work with agencies across the state, and as the governor said, from Chicago to East St. Louis, in doing a few things, a few big things. One, making sure that we have all the adequate support resources so that anyone confronting homelessness right now can get rapid rehousing and the wraparound support services. Working with people who are right now couch surfing, doubled up. In the Latino community, we know that is a high number, and making sure they can get rapid rehousing so we prevent their homelessness. And making sure that we stabilize people who have not been able to pay their rent, or landlords who have not been able to keep up with their mortgage because of the challenges of homeowners. To do that work, we need a coordinated effort to prevent homelessness and to do what Caroline and I and Deputy Governor and so many of us have been working on for so long with the Chicago Coalition for the Homeless. To end homelessness is going to take all of us. So today, I've said this a couple times throughout this year, is another historical moment. We're reconvening this task force who has already done so much work under the leadership of people behind me, people in front of me, and around the state. But we have to make sure that this average age of a person experiencing homelessness at about 12, 13 years of age, that thing goes away. Because in the state of Illinois, we're going to make sure people have homes, and we're going to make sure that people have the resources they need to live a high quality of life so that we can all experience economic recovery. So I'm excited. Of course, Secretary Ho knows that I'm going to be calling and how I can help and support and make sure that our colleagues are doing that. And I also need to, before I step from this microphone, say thank you to the leadership of Rep. LaPointe, to Senator Aquino, who in January jumped in and helped us pass one of the most comprehensive emergency housing relief piece of legislation this state has ever seen. And to every single person in Chicago and East St. Louis, in Aurora, in Waukegan, is saying it's time to end homelessness. Let's get this task force going. So thank you. Gracias. A trabajar y estamos comprometidos. With that said, I want to introduce to you my seatmate, my co-champion here in affordable housing and addressing homelessness in the legislature, Representative Lindsay LaPointe.
Good morning, and thank you, Leader Ramirez. My name is Lindsay LaPointe, and I'm the state representative of the 19th House District, and I am so filled with gratitude today just to be here, to be part of this conversation and this announcement, but I'm also filled with gratitude for the opportunity to have served the far northwest side of Chicago for the last 2 years. And even on the far northwest side of Chicago, we have people experiencing homelessness right now at the Jefferson Park Transit Center, and I'm prouder to say that we have people on the northwest side of Chicago that care a lot about helping our neighbors in need and about ending homelessness. I myself am a social worker turned state representative, and I have known since 2008, and that's when I worked out of a church basement as a case manager in Maywood for Housing Forward, which back then was called West Suburban PADS. I've known since then that we can indeed end homelessness. Ending homelessness and ensuring every neighbor has access to shelter and supportive services has long been possible here in Illinois and nationwide, but our collective political will, our economic will, and even our bureaucratic will, it just hasn't been focused enough. But today, we are going to create that focus because housing is a human right and it's our foundation for well-being, and Monique told that story very well. I'm so thrilled that today we are going to harness our collective power in Illinois to set our sights on ending homelessness and all the different root causes that that entails. Looking around the room today, looking behind me, looking out front of me where I see people that have been working on this issue for years and years and years, I am very hopeful because the people in this room not only have a lot of compassion, but they also have a track record of execution. So I'm full of hope that we are going to end homelessness in Illinois in the years to come. With that, I want to say extra special thank you to Governor Pritzker, and I am about to invite him back up to the podium.
Happy to take any questions from members of the media.
On topic, Governor, people want to ask you about holiday travel, if you could. Do you believe that people go away for the holidays that could lead to another COVID surge?
If people are careful, if people wear masks where they're going, if they've been vaccinated, I think that there's a lot lower likelihood that we will see a surge from people who are traveling and then coming back. Well, I plan to spend the weekend with my family, and of course I'm vaccinated, and I will be wearing a mask when I'm, indoors with other people. But I also plan to spend a great deal of my time outdoors since it's such a beautiful day and beautiful weekend.
Chicago encouraging people not to travel, especially school kids and everything, and saying that they need to quarantine for 7 days after they come back. Do you have any concerns that this could lead to people feeling like it's too oppressive? The governor, it's like a stay-at-home order, but telling people not to go anywhere?
No, remember that being vaccinated, wearing a mask, those are things that you can do safely to keep yourself safe, your family safe, and your school safe if you're going back to school. Those quarantines are not about travel. They're about unvaccinated people traveling and bringing it back with them. And I'd also say that it's important from my perspective that people just, step back for a moment and ask yourself, how can I help keep other people safe? I know that the first and foremost thing that people think of is keeping themselves safe, and they should get vaccinated. But I also want people to just take a moment, especially when you have a breath that you can take over a holiday weekend, to just ask, what can I do to make sure I keep other people safe or help them keep themselves safe? And one thing you can do is encourage others that you know, especially in your family, people you feel comfortable talking about this with, to get vaccinated. It's a simple thing to do. It's available almost everywhere you go. Every pharmacy has it. We've tried to make it just universally available, and I want everybody to take a moment here to just do everything you can. Get others vaccinated, help convince others that they should be vaccinated. We're so close to getting over the hump of getting to herd immunity. If we can just get people to get past their hesitancy. There will be people who refuse to do it, I know that. But there are lots of people who are just on the verge. They know that the Delta variant is dangerous and that we need to get past it by everybody getting vaccinated. So a little bit of a push, a little bit of education, I think we can get there.
But do you think it's okay if people are vaccinated and they wear their masks to travel and go wherever they want?
I think they should be careful, yeah, everybody. And look, I assume everybody is going to take those precautions for themselves. And if they're not, please take the precautions for your family and for your community.
Can I ask you about express issues? We've got 4 this week. I know the state police recently announced they're going to be setting up this camera system.
Yes.
To help with that. Have you ordered state police to take any additional action or steps this weekend? And is this camera system up and running anywhere yet?
So first, the state police is also adding additional patrols, so that will be helpful. There are cameras that are up and running. They've been installing them as we go. I think there'll be a total of, well, I think it's 200 cameras that will be ultimately installed, but it takes time to do all that. So they're in process.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.